assumption. So in all this example, our assumption was that we are using it equally. This was coming because of matching concept, that we matched the expense in which you have consumed the resources and we matched the revenue in which you have generated the resources. Now there is a colloquial phrase that I'm going to say. So how many people in this class do not understand Hindi? Oh, everybody.
Sir, I understand 70 to 80%.
Okay, fine. 70 is more than enough. But I'm sure that even some of the Hindi speakers would not get this idiom. But I will still use it because it exactly captures what I want to say. And then I will try to explain what I'm talking about. Basically, what materiality says is that in order to apply your matching concept, बाल की खाल मत निकालने लगो. Now, what do we mean by that? Don't go to insane limits in order to apply the matching concept. That's what the idiom stands for. Anybody, all those cat, you all have cracked, right? Usme wo, you need to prepare for language techniques, language skills. So if anybody has a better idiom for the same theme in English, do let me know after the class, not right now. Okay, I'll be happy to replace it. What does it mean is that there is a concept which says that don't go to insane limit in applying matching concept. Let me tell you, what do I mean? How can you apply a concept and start becoming insane about it? Let me talk about a firm. Let's say, let's continue with Tata Motors. Let's say Tata Motors. Anybody remembers the scale of business in which Tata Motors was dealing? Some random quantum there. Capital of how many rupees, or reserves and surplus of how many rupees? Rough range.
24,000 crores, I guess.
Some hundreds of crores and some thousands of crores.
1.8 lakhs of crores, I guess. 1.8, 1.9 lakhs.
Whatever, lakhs or thousand, it was somewhere in crores of rupees, more than hundreds of crores of rupees. Okay, just keep that in mind. Okay, that is not a memory test. It's not even, I'm not making all of you an FDI agent, so no problem. You can continue to be managers. Now,
have you explained materiality already? I don't know. I just.
नहीं अभी चुपचाप बैठ के सुनो. If you listen 5-10 more minutes, then you will understand what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm about to explain materiality. What does it say? But for that, I need to make an example. The example I'm trying to make here is that suppose Tata Motor goes and buys a stapler. Okay, let's say stapler of Kangaroo. Stapler. Kangaroo is the only company I know, by the way. I don't know any other company which makes staplers. But let's say it's a very good quality of stapler, and they spend, let's say, how much do you think a stapler is worth? How much does it cost in the market? Any rough guess? I will not see you.
150. 200 rupees.
250, 100 rupees. Okay, let's say, oh, somebody is giving 90. But decimal may be dali dete. Okay, good. Maybe Dheeraj has recently purchased a stapler. That doesn't matter. Okay, because this one is very specific number. Let's stick with it. 90 rupees. Let's say Tata Motors buys a stapler for 90 rupees. Okay. Now, this part, everybody, whether you knew the cost or not, this part, I think, at least in a ballpark, you can make a guess that how long do you think the stapler will be useful for you? Make a guess. Unless you dip it every alternate day, you dip it in water. And let's say you don't.
5 years.
5 years? 5 years is extremely conservative estimate. I would have gone to 10 or 15 years, or if you don't break it, 30 years also, right? But let's stick with 5 years, not a problem. Now, what does matching concept tell us? Matching concept says that, okay, this is what you have spent, 90 rupees on this point of time, 90 rupees you have spent at this point of time. When you will benefit from this expenditure or then this outflow, let me use the word outflow, you will benefit because of this in year 1, in year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5, right? If your assumption is that this stapler will be useful to you for 5 years, its useful life is 5 years. So what does matching concept say? Matching concept says that don't show this entire 90 as expense in the first year itself. Break it into these 5 pieces when you are actually consuming this resource, right? Let me break it into 5 pieces. What per year charge will come? 18 rupees. So
18.
I will subtract 18 rupees in first year, 18 rupees in second year, 18 in third, 18 in fourth. Let me be very ridiculous and continue this up till fifth year. You can imagine how much time I would have wasted of the class if we would have gone ahead with the assumption of 25 years, right? Now matching concept is fantastic. It's conceptually really strong. But do you find something ridiculous happening here? Just imagine the scale of a business of Tata Motors, that they are saying, let's say this is how their income statement is, that they are saying that this year we sold trucks worth rupees 700 crore rupees. 700 crore rupees, I don't know how many zeros. Have I ended up making more? This is thousands, this is lakhs, and this is 700 crore rupees. Okay. Then subtract all the expenses, other different expenses, and on that subtract depreciation on stapler. 18 rupees. Now conceptually it is correct, but do you think that if I continue to maintain this much detail year after year, let's say if God forbid by next year you end up purchasing one more stapler, let's say one more office needs one more stapler, your life is ruined. 5-10 offices, and let's say all the offices have 5-6 staplers, then instead of manufacturing and selling motor vehicles, you are busy finding out depreciation on staplers. That's what your life will become. To save yourself from this ridiculousness, fortunately there is a concept. It says that when applying matching concept, don't go to ridiculous details. Now how much detail is a ridiculous detail, that part we will discuss in a bit. But what does it say then? First of all, it says that if the amount involved is not significant, then you can write off the entire amount in the year of purchase itself. So instead of writing depreciation in the year 1, in year 2, year 3, up to year 25 or whatever, instead of doing that, what you could do is that you can write this complete amount in this year itself. Entire stapler thing is gone in year of purchase itself. Stapler expense. So next year, even though the stapler is there, you are taking the services. So conceptually, if you have understood matching concept really well, then you should start feeling bad about it, that this is not matching concept. But that's all. Your feeling bad should stop there, because you have shown it. As far as books of accounts are concerned, there is no asset left as far as your accounting books are concerned called stapler. It is gone. In first year itself, it is consumed. Now, why do we do that? I think that part should be very easily clear by now. We do it for saving ourselves from unnecessary extreme details. Now, how could we do it? We could do it only for those amounts which are insignificant in magnitude. Now, how much is insignificant and how much is significant? Is 19 significant? If I look at this scale of 700 crore rupees, definitely. But is 1000 significant? Definitely, maybe. But what about 7 lakhs? Maybe. What about 17 lakhs? So you can see that where the white becomes black, you don't know that there is a gray zone here. You understand what I'm talking about here? That how big is significant and how small is insignificant, nobody will be able to give it to you in writing. So that is where I will throw in my favorite word called managerial discretion. That how big is too big and how small is too small is up to the managerial discretion. But the fact is, once you have made a cutoff, then for that particular amount, anything below, don't bother too much. Okay. Now, is there any guidance as to how do you decide this number? Yes, there is a guidance. The number, if it is of that magnitude, that even if you add the entire amount or subtract entire amount, for the users of the statement, the end result would not change. What am I talking about here is that let's say you show a profit of 500,000 crores. Oh, sorry, 500,000 500 crore rupees of profit. Let's say this is under treatment when you subtracted the entire amount. And if instead you would have provided depreciation, the number would have looked like this: 500, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, maybe let's say 80 or 72 rupees. Okay. Now, for any users of financial statement, do you remember the users of financial statement? Who were they from our first few classes? It can be your current shareholder, prospective shareholder, your bank lenders, your prospective lenders, your competitors, your suppliers, anybody. Now, depending upon this treatment, is it going to happen that if they look at this number, they are going to take a different decision? If they look at this number, they are going to take a different decision? If the answer to this question is no, then the amount is insignificant. Fine. Once again, I have not told you a formal cutoff limit, but what I have told you is the argument that should drive formal cutoff limit, that when you decide, how do you think? The thought process should be that if the entire amount is not that sizable, that if you show the entire amount or you show the depreciation, in either case that any of the stakeholders, their decision is not going to change, then you can consider the amount as insignificant. Now, what does it mean? It means that instead of providing the depreciation based on the matching concept or slowly breaking the asset in pieces, you can show the entire amount as completely gone in the year of purchase. Fine. Before I open it up for questions, let me repeat one very severe caution here, because year after year I see people making this mistake. Here, the materiality concept does not mean, it is not saying that if amount is small, completely ignore it. That's not what we just now said. Stapler to sirf 90 rupees ka kharida, let's completely ignore it that we have ever bought a stapler. No, that's not what we are saying. What we are saying is that if this is a asset which is going to live for more than one accounting period, but the amount is small, then you can show the entire amount in the year in which you have purchased. That's what it means. Fine. तो एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन पूछूंगा और वो सब कुछ इग्नोर करके बोलना कि हमारा मटेरियलिटी का लिमिट बहुत बड़ा था, that would not be correct. Fine. Okay, now questions. Any questions?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So basically, in the balance sheet, this will not be added as an asset, right?
Yes, that's exactly what we have. Yes, correct. Even though in second year you can actually see that I have stapler left with me, but if you try to find out where in balance sheet that is mentioned, you will not be able to find it. Why?
So do you?
Otherwise, it is assumed it is gone. Yeah.
Do you add an asset and then remove it as an expense, or do you just add an expense?
No, add an expense. No need to add an asset then remove it. Straight away remove it as an expense. Yeah. Anything else? That's it.
So another question: if the amount is slightly higher, if it's say 1,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees, so for an individual asset it will not make a difference. But if you aggregate it over all, as in say, I'm not able to think of an example, but I said
I understood
if there's 1 lakh staples like this.
Okay. What Mohammed is trying to ask is that what if individual stapler is not sizable, but in a particular year you end up purchasing 100 staplers and that one is sizable. Let us just assume that that one is sizable. What do you do? So both these treatments are okay with you. So either you can treat them at individual level and you can treat them as if they are insignificant, or you can treat them if they have, after combining, if they have become sizable, they can then, instead of maintaining one particular stapler account, you can add all the staplers that are there in all your offices taken together. And then for this, you can continue to record it as an asset. Right? Samajh aaya? So let's say 500 total staplers are there. So 500 into 90. Let's say all of that, just for argument's sake, let's say assume that all these 90 you purchase in this year. Then what you will do is 500 into 90. This is what will be the value of the asset. As you keep on purchasing or disposing of the staplers off, you can keep on providing addition or deletion from this. And similarly, you can also go ahead and provide depreciation on this. So the point being is that if there is one individual asset which is very infrequent in the business, which doesn't happen, that every year you don't end up making purchase of hundreds of staplers. If it is 1 or 2, then you can use the materiality concept. But if let's say individually the same asset is very small, but the same asset you are buying so many in numbers, then this approach is better. You add them up and you treat the combined asset as an asset deal. Fine. Yeah. Question, Volu?
So one question.
Yeah.
So what is the the scale of it? Like, so what would be
Okay, basis of the scale.
Yeah.
So basically the question Vignesh is asking is that, do you look at sales? Do you look at your asset size? Do you look at your balance sheet numbers? Where do you look at? That's the question. Everybody understood the question, what he is asking? Okay. So basically you can look at a lot of these things. You can look at combination of the things. There is no specific guidance. The bottom line of the argument will be that stakeholders' decision should not be different. Highly likely, because this one will be affecting your profit figure, then you can look at profit number, or you can look at revenue number. But instead you can look at balance sheet number also. It would not be incorrect to do so. Why? Because this is very subjective area. The moment it is subjective area, here is a big hint for you, that you can see that how much prone income statement and balance sheet would be to managerial discretion. If somebody thought that 100 rupee for this business is sizable enough versus somebody thought that 10,000 is sizable enough, then based on their assumption, the end result, that is the profit that you would show to the shareholders, can be different. ठीक है, समझ आया? समझ आया? हाँ, okay, बताओ, question बोलो, ऋषभ, go ahead.
So, you said managerial discretion is exercised. So, I mean, at which level of management is this exercise? Like the chief accountant?
That depends. Okay, so what he is asking is that, does accountant decide this, or does middle management decide it, or does CEO need to make a meeting and decide that what is? I think, from what I can imagine, most of the time even accountants would be deciding it in consultation with junior manager. Okay, if things are moving too much here and there, then maybe top management will get into this, that what are you doing? Okay, but that's what I would want to think. Whether it is happening in practice in companies or not, let's say you have started Satyam and you are Ramalingam Raju and everything is dictated by you, that case is different. Okay, there are businesses where everything is dictated by the top management. So it depends upon more of the flexibility of the organization to organization. There is once again no guidance as to which management should decide this. But definitely top management should have an ultimate say in this. That if they have deliberated, then maybe they are assuming that our junior managers are capable of taking this decision on their own. Okay, yeah. Anybody else? Perfect, then let's continue with our example. So the example that we were doing is that of, okay, by the way, where this question came from, you guys remember this 34 rupees we subtracted of prepaid, what was that? Prepaid insurance or something?
Insurance.
You guys remember from yesterday's example? Okay. Now, looking at this example, what do you think? Could we have applied materiality here or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we could have.
We could have. Everybody unanimous? Why? Because 34 seems very small number compared to hundreds or thousands of dollars. Is that the reason? No counter view? Come on. Committee selections हो गए आपके? नहीं हुए, कोई बात नहीं. Committee होगा वो debate वालों. Here is the option to debate against the motion. Come on. So how come the entire class is unanimous that this looks a very small amount?
No, sir. I think for 25,000, it doesn't looks like a small number.
So for 25,000, so people will only accuse you of being a miser, Bharat. Unfortunately, that's what people are going to do. So you given an argument, which is a valid argument. Only thing is that there is a very easy and convenient counter argument to it. That this guy is just a miser. 25,000 की deal कर रहे हो, वहाँ 34 रुपए कहाँ लेके बैठे हो, right? So for that matter, there can be some confused person for whom even 1 rupee in a matter of in a property of hundreds of crores might be very sizable. So they will never apply materiality. That's not what I'm talking about. At argument level, is there any flaw here? Conceptually, is there any flaw? That is one, in case you guys are wondering what it is. If I don't, let's say I ask you that prepare the same statement annually, then what is the depreciation you would have shown? Somebody calculate.
400 by 3.
400.
408.
408, you would have subtracted 408 if the accounting period was annually. Just for argument's sake, it doesn't matter. Just for argument's sake, just assume that if it is what it was 1.5 year wise, that every 1.5 year you are making this statement, then what would have been the depreciation number?
816.
612. 612.
612.
612. Okay. Now you see that this number is changing based upon what frequency you are assuming of the accounting period. Right? So the same amount, but you are saying that it will become, so now if 408, is it sizable, is it significant or insignificant? Look at the type of sale and profits you are making, not too much different from that.
Yes.
So suddenly the same amount becomes significant. Let me make it converse, that if suppose as Bharat was saying earlier, that looking at this sale and all, I think that this amount is still sizable. So I will take it to the other limit. Okay. Let us make this preparation of this statement weekly, just for conceptual sake. Then what would happen to this number? Right now it was monthly, right? Weekly means it will be divided by about
4.5.
Okay, around $8 or something. What if I ask you to prepare financial statement daily? This further will be divided by 7 or something. So $1 or something you will keep on depreciating every year, every day. Now you see that if you look at this number now, suddenly you will say that this number is insignificant. Now what is happening here? The thing that is happening here is that you all are looking at the wrong number to find whether it is significant or not. Yeah, Ronika, go ahead.
So, but then if we divide it by 7 or like further to find weekly or daily amounts, then the
Yeah.
other numbers will also get divided, right? So it will be a scale
No, not
dividing the
necessarily.
entire thing.
Not necessary. Let's say your business is that of, let's say, buying and selling buildings. Okay.
Yeah.
So in one day when you are making the sale, then itself you are making a deal of. So what she is mentioning is that if in a month you sold total revenue was, let's say, $5,000, then every day it will be 5,000 divided by 30. So what she is mentioning is this revenue will also be small. I am saying that it need not happen in the same proportion. This depreciation will fall down by same proportion,
Yeah.
but let's say my revenue is infrequent. It's not like a Kirana store where I'm selling very small value, but I'm selling very continuously. Right? So in that situation, in the day when you have just done the sale, you will see that this number is very sizable. The point I'm trying to make is that the reference point should not be the depreciation amount, rather the reference point should be the total amount. This is what you should see, check whether this one is sizable or not. Why? Because what is the alternate treatment of showing a depreciation of $1? You will show an expense of $1,224 expense. Whether that one is significant or not is the question you should ask. Is samajh mein aaya? What point I was trying to make here? Bhavna, samajh mein aaya? Yeah. So if you look at the correct reference point, then you will not end up making this a mistake, which brings simply because of whatever has been given to you as accounting period. So accounting period can change the depreciation number, but the total value of the asset, accounting period's definition will not be able to change. So that is why you should look at the total number. Okay, let's move ahead. Let's go and yeah, go ahead. Somebody is asking.
Like, what is a good reference point? Like, what total will be a good reference point, like, to consider significant?
Nothing. Generally, if something is less than 5% of your revenue, then I think that should be, anything below that should be immaterial.
Got
If
it.
your profit margin is very small, then you can reduce it to 1%. If it is like you are dealing with your business is very thin margin business, you guys understand what do I mean by profit margin?
Yes.
Blank mark. Yes, no, okay. Profit margin means, let's say I am dealing with, I did a sale of 100 rupees. Now, how much profit did I make? It's like people say that garment business is having this much of margin. Let's say compare that to real estate business that has much larger margin. Compare that to Kirana store that they have very less margin. Right? If you go to any of the dairies, milk dairies, and you ask for a discount, try asking it. Especially if somebody has ever lived in Bangalore, try asking a 50 paise discount on the milk packet. They will say get lost. In fact, they will charge you 50 paise extra. Right? Why? Because the margins are very thin. So if you are dealing with those kind of businesses, then this particular reference point will keep on reducing. That maybe unless something is, let's say, 0.05% of revenue, I will not consider it as insignificant. Fine.
Sir, here instead of 1224, if the insurance were $50, let's say for 3 years, then we would have used the materiality concept.
Yeah, then it would have made sense. Yeah. If the entire insurance amount itself was $50, then we would have said that all the revenues, daily revenue itself is running into hundreds of, or 1,500 or 2,000 or in that kind of a range. So maybe you could have ended up making a assumption that $50 is not that much of a money for us. Okay.
So in the accounting period, about 5% of the revenue in the accounting period and above is significant, right?
No, I didn't say any such thing. All I said is that it depends upon the margin that you tend to generate on your business.
Okay.
If your margins are 20%, 30%, 40%, fashion industry, the margins are higher. So there maybe if some expenditure has happened, which is 5% or less of your revenue, then you can treat it. I'm just trying to make a ballpark here.
Right.
As I said that there is no clear-cut rule.
Got it.
Okay. The bottom line that is playing behind when I am making this calculation is that what wouldn't make a difference as far as end users of statement is concerned. So if you are dealing in hundreds of thousand rupees, 1 lakh rupees will not make a difference. But if you are dealing in 50 lakh or 60 lakh, then 1 lakh of rupees will make a difference. That's all the difference I'm trying to make mentally. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. So if you guys permit, I can continue with the example. Okay, good.
So,
yeah.
So just related to the materiality concept, yesterday I had asked you something about a lifetime payment of something like a tax or something.
Lifetime payment wala aayega bhai. Abhi wo Karan Arjun
so it's not related to the materiality about whether to deduct it year or next year.
It is related to materiality, yes. If it is very small, okay, let me tell it here. Varna tumhara khana nahi pachega, no problem. Let me try to create an example of a lifetime payment. Okay, let's say this business takes a lifetime subscription of some random thing. Let's say suddenly Reliance Jio comes that for a lifetime you can buy a mobile phone's connection for $30 for this business. $30 do or lifetime ka incoming outgoing free. Now you want to apply materiality, matching concept. The problem with something being lifetime is that you don't know what value to divide it with. Right? If you divide it by infinity, you are continuing to write 0. Right? So there are two options here. One thing is that, as Rishabh mentioned, that you can apply materiality concept here. If the amount is insignificant, your life is very simple. That anyway, materiality will give you excuse from applying the matching. समझ में आ रहा है क्या बातें कर रहा हूँ? और are these only sentences? Some blank faces. जुतिका समझ में आ रहा है क्या बात कहा मैंने अभी?
हाँ सर.
हाँ सर. I'm still not convinced with your हाँ सर. Just repeat कर दो जरा क्या sentence बोला मैंने?
सर आप ऋषभ का डाउट क्लियर कर रहे थे regarding
या यही बोल देती सर आप क्लास में कुछ तो पढ़ा रहे थे. Okay, that would have been as specific as. Okay, fine. What I'm trying to say here is I'm trying to make an assumption. First of all, let us understand what doubt Vishal is asking. The doubt he's asking is that if something is for many years, you told us what to do. You also gave us an exception that if something is for many years, but still if the amount is small, then what to do? This is what we have already done. Now his question is, what if something is not for many years, but it is for all the years, infinite years? That is what we mean by lifetime payment. Lifetime subscription पढ़ा है कभी? कभी सुना है? वो बचपन में जब I don't know which generation you guys are from, but in my generation it used to happen कि कोई वो story books आती थी. There used to be some story books, and of those story books you can make one lump sum payment and you will be subscriber throughout the life. I mean lifetime subscriber. Okay. So how do you treat those kind of items or prepaid payments is what he's asking. So whenever an asset is there, let's say an asset is there called broadcasting right. For this broadcasting right, let's say we paid 25 crore rupees, and we know that this broadcasting right has a life of 5 years. So the moment we divide 25 by 5, now we are saying that we are assuming that every year we are using 5 crore rupees. We are consuming out of it. But what if, let's say Star Sports does a similar deal of, let's say 250 crore rupees, and but this time only the difference is that this is a lifetime license, that as long as Star Sports, BCCI and India as a country live and Indian team remains, if there is a cricket match happening, then they will have the right to broadcast. Let's say this is aisa deal hoga ki nahi, ignore that part. Let's say theoretically assume that this deal happens. Now his question is that how do I deal with this number? Can I divide it by 5? No, it has longer life. Can I divide it by 10? No, it still has longer life. Can I divide it by 200? No, it still is has a longer life. So how do we deal with it? Abhi question समझ में आ गया? 990. Why 999, man? It has more longer life, right? Okay. So now this is the question that now we want to apply the matching concept on this one. So what I was telling, where I stopped you and where I stopped and asked you a question, the first point I was mentioning is that if this point itself is not sizable, let's say your business is thousands of crore rupees, some thousands of crore rupees, in that scale you are dealing, then 250 crore rupees, just assume that if it is 1000 crore, maybe 250. The problem is of being a professor is that you can't think about these big numbers. So I'm feeling very hesitant कि 1000 के बाद crore कौन सा आएगा, lakhs of crores. Okay. Let's say you are dealing in lakhs of crore rupees and 250 crore itself is not that big a number for you. Then things would have been much simpler. How? Because anyway you are being excused to apply matching. How are you excused from applying matching? Because now you have a support of something that is called materiality. You will say this entire amount itself is not significant. So let me write this complete thing as an expense in this year itself. So when I'm preparing my income statement, I'm writing all the things I generated or spent. In that I will subtract an expense of 250 crore. Done. But what if this number is sizable number? It so turns out that then conceptually nobody can give you an answer. Why I'm talking about conceptually here is that because I take this entire course at a conceptual level. Now rules and regulations will come into picture here. That some country will say that if that is the case, then divided by 999. Some country will say that divided by 99. Some country will say that make your own estimate and divide it by any number more than 5. So let's say you divide it by 17. Some countries will say that if there is that much of a confusion, then you have no option but to show the entire thing as an expense in the first year. But what am I telling you here is that conceptually you cannot resolve this issue. because there is no such thing as this number divided by infinity. You will not be able to depreciate this asset ever then. Some country may also come in and say that that's exactly what you should do. That don't depreciate every year, continue to show it as 250 crore of asset. Okay, so bottom line of this is that if the number is significant, then somebody needs to make a rule or regulation or some estimate to deal with it. Conceptually, we cannot deal with it. Okay. Question or uska response samajh mein aaya? If the number is small, our life is very easy. We can show the entire thing as an expense. If the number is bigger, then some additional support needs to come either from accounting standards of the country or the rules and regulations or company law or equivalent of the country or somewhere. If nothing else, manager, use your discretion and divide it by some sane looking number and try to justify it. Okay, fine, good. No wonder आपके क्लास में थोड़ा सा coverage थोड़ा delayed चलता है and class always fails, but it's good. That is also sad. It's almost like I have two versions of my classes. One is like production version and one is uncut version. So your class is more of an uncut version. You guys see what do you mean? Lord of Rings देखा है किसी ने? Lord of Rings नहीं देखा? Lord of Rings नहीं देखा तो लाइफ में बहुत सारी इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें मिस कर रहे हो. Go and set that quiz वगैरह तो आते जाते रहेंगे. So there are two versions of that. The movie itself runs into 2 and some hours or so each version, and then there is an uncut version that runs into 3.5 hours. So your class is that uncut version of my classes. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and continue. So this is now I'm starting the part which I wanted to start in this class. Okay, fine. So some technical director's cut or whatever. I don't know what that is called. I'm not that sophisticated. Hindi medium ka bachcha hu main. Okay, anyways. Next transaction it says, so where we were in the last transaction.
Sir, I have one last question about materiality.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, since it is managerial discretion, can it be abused? Can that concept be abused in any way?
That is, everybody heard the question he is asking? That is precisely the point of this course. This entire course, one of the most important takeaway is that nobody should misuse the discretion and fool you. Baki janta fool ho rahi hai ki nahi ho rahi hai, that is not my concern. My class, if you have attended my class, then nobody should be able to fool you simply by playing around the discretion. The moment there is a discretion, you should be very, okay, this is the number, these are the ways discretion could have played a role. If you have enough authority, then you will go and question the management that justify this doesn't look good. For example, when you're dealing with a company that is dealing in a revenue of $100 or $1,000, and in that kind of a company, let's say you ended up assuming $100 as insignificant, then this is straight away and at the face not justified, right? So unless you understand the fact that this was a discretion, you will not know that now is the time to ask a question. So one of the most important learning or takeaway from this course is to understand what places is this discretion playing a role. Once you know this, then at the end of this course, all you will be equipped with is not the solution for life, but rather problems where you need to ask questions in life, which do not lead to potential problems or disasters later on. Fine. Okay. So now I'm starting the portion for today finally. So all these people who have switched off their videos very conveniently, turn it on and then we can get started. Yeah. Let me see your faces. Okay, perfect. So let's get started. So the last transaction I believe was number 5, where this business had purchased a piece of land by paying 6,000. So piece of land came in for a value of 24,000. And remaining was some mortgage. So I needed to create a mortgage here. Had I done this or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, already there.
Here it is mortgage. So I think this advance sale and everything, advance revenue, ये सब आप ही के section में होता है. बाकी section वालों को पता भी नहीं है कि advance revenue और accrued revenue होता क्या है और deferred revenue. Anyway, maybe you will save some time in later on later sessions when their turn actually comes. Okay. Let's go to the next transaction. Next one says that of the 2 pieces of land that you had purchased, one piece you sold off for 12,000. So total you had purchased it for 24. So I'm assuming 12 plus 12. One piece you have sold it for 12,000. How has you received the payment? The payment 3,000 is in cash and remaining 9,000. The buyer will assume our responsibility. Where it is? Here is the responsibility. The buyer will assume half of our responsibility for mortgage. Okay, that's how the payment has happened. So let us do the treatment. So I would have opened it for rest of the sections because I'm already running late. I will tell you what do we do. So land has gone out, 12,000 reduction in land because one piece worth 12,000 has been sold off. How have you got the payment? This 3,000 has come into the business in form of cash. So if this is my cash balance, this would have gone up by 3,000 after this. So that is why this positive 3,000. And now I don't need to pay 9,000 out of my total mortgage. So subtract my obligation by 9,000. Okay, this is what we will do because that's exactly what the transaction says. So what at the end, what has happened? One negative 12 here, one positive 3 here, and one negative 9 this side. That's what has happened. Fine. All comfortable? So I'm assuming that unless you ask a question, everybody is comfortable, and I'll move ahead. Yeah.
No profit is associated, na?
Come again?
No profit is associated here.
Profit? Sorry, come again. I'm not able to hear.
No profit is associated here.
Yeah. 12,000 की चीज आपने 12,000 में बेची है. Quick question, how much is the profit?
अभी तो प्रॉफिट नहीं है ना.
हाँ, तो अच्छी बात है ना. प्रॉफिट होता तो क्या करते, ये पूछ रहे हो?
मतलब प्रॉफिट तो होना चाहिए.
Okay. Let's not get emotional here कि प्रॉफिट नहीं होगा तब तक ट्रांजैक्शन नहीं एंटर करेंगे. किताब में लिख दिया तो करना पड़ेगा. एग्जाम में तो पक्का ही करना पड़ेगा. But the point being is that if there was a profit, the difference would have been added here. If there was a loss, then the difference would have been subtracted here. As simple. Because if there is any profit and loss, who will bear that? These fellows here, called owners. And retained earning is their representative. Okay, let's continue. Next one, it says that Smith received a bona fide offer of $33,000 for the business, and if you add these things right now, then it says that owner has a claim of only 26,000 something into the business, 26,000 plus dollars. So somebody is ready to pay you 33,000 to buy this business. Now what they are saying is that by this analogy, that because this is a bona fide offer, it is clear that a goodwill has occurred to the business of the difference amount. Let's call it, just for convenience sake, that of $7,000. Okay. What shall I do? This one I will open it for the class. What shall I do?
You can't record it.
Nothing.
Do nothing. Do nothing.
No record. Nothing.
Do nothing. Okay, do nothing. All lazy fellows here. Why do nothing? You need to explain the reason. Is it because you are being lazy, or is there any reason?
It's not happening actually.
No
Yeah,
company has
the transaction
recorded.
did not take
Goodwill will only be recorded in the company which buys this company, right? It will not be
Okay, that is
recorded.
point one. Okay. What else? Any other point? Do nothing because it is not our transaction. These are the two arguments here. Okay. Two things here. One thing is, right now, what has happened is just somebody has made an offer. So there is not even a transaction. It's like today I promise you to make you a king or queen of the universe. Then do you go about adding something, some goodwill in your balance sheet or something? No. This is another matter, that if this offer itself was not bona fide. What do we mean by bona fide offer there? You see the word bona fide mentioned there? That means that there is all intention to do that transaction. I mean, the person actually has 33,000 and they are ready to pay it if the existing owner agrees. That is all the meaning of the word bona fide. So now even if, so one thing is that an offer can be all in Hawa mein. The way I made an offer to you that tomorrow I will make all of you king or queens of the universe. This is not a bona fide, at least that, to the best of my knowledge, this is not a bona fide. I don't have any such authority. So that's what is the bona fide. Another thing is, another level of problem is that even if it was a bona fide, it was just an offer. So not an actual transaction. So on that account, we can't do anything. On top of that, even if actually the transaction happens, the goodwill word will not appear for Music Mart. The goodwill will appear from the other, let's say, random mart which bought this. So they will mention that we have paid $33,000. Why did we pay it? We bought a business of 26 and we paid 7,000 for goodwill. So they will make this entry, not Music Mart. So for all these reasons taken together, nothing will do for this transaction. Yeah, Shobhik, go ahead.
Sir, I have added up this capital and earned revenue. So I think in the book, I mean they have not deducted this 34.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. So these are all sincere people of the class. So this 34, if you remember our accounting period properly, ideally the date of this should have been the last day of the period. You guys remember? कल कर रहे थे 34 वाला.
Last day, मतलब 31st.
31st March, yes. Not 31st January 1996. So all these things which you provide simply because the period has passed, you should do those entries only on the last day when the period has actually passed. Okay. For convenience sake, if you want, it's only to save you from the problem of forgetting it later on. If you wanted, if you knew on this date itself that we are going to prepare it, you can do this entry with the 31st January as the date. Let me repeat the question. I'm looking at some confused faces out there. What Shobhik is mentioning is that this 26,000 something, let me write, now I need to get to the bottom it, 26,970. What he noted is that if you do all these totals right away, then you don't get 26,970. Why? Because this 2690 doesn't include a subtraction of $34, which we had subtracted in the last class. You remember? Why did we subtract this? We had subtracted because in this period we will be using $34 out of our insurance, right? Now the point I'm trying to mention, that was the question that Shobhik asked. That now the response, listen to the response. The response is that we did it right away, but the corresponding date should have been 31st January 96. You should write 31st January 96 at the reference wherever if you are mentioning the dates. Why? Because on this day we will do all the entries which we need to do simply because this period is over. Further confused faces, so let me try to elaborate it even further. Let's say this one is 1st January 96. On this day you purchased insurance worth 1224. Okay. Now what we are saying is that during this period you consumed 34 out of this. Okay. This is what we had done until the last class. Now if let's suppose in front of every recording, let's say you are noting that its corresponding date. Can you tell me that on which date will you mention 34 rupees being consumed? Can you make it at 1st January? Can you make it 2nd January? 31st you will do, because then you would have said that the month is over, let me provide the expense for the month. That too is only because of convenience, because conceptually speaking every split second you should be providing the depreciation. But that is the advantage of accounting period, that once accounting period is over, we need to bother ourselves with what things we need to do simply because the period is over. So this is what you needed to do. That is why this number does not include this 34. What we did initially is that because we already knew that 1 month is our accounting period, on the date of purchase itself, we went ahead and provided this $34 ka depreciation. But even though when you are doing it on the 1st January, even though you are actually writing it, it's like post-dated check. That even though I'm signing it today on, let's say, 25th of August, but the date I will mention is, let's say, 25th of September. Fine. So even though you are entering it then and there, simply because you know that this 34 is going to become our expense for the period, but the reference date will be 31st of January. ये समझ में आया क्वेश्चन और उसका response? That is why this number does not include 34. Perfect. Good. Let's go to the next one. So bona fide offer done. Next one. Smith withdrew $1,000 cash. So सब लोग अपने जो भी पेरेंट्स इधर उधर झांक रहे होंगे कि बेटा क्लास खत्म नहीं हुई, सब लोग बता दो अभी टाइम लगेगा. Okay, अभी खाना वाना खाने में थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा. So I'll take all my time to explain rest of the stuff. Smith withdrew 1,000 cash from the store's bank account for his personal use. What shall I do?
Reduce 1K from cash.
And
reduce from cash. Okay, cash is gone. So that is why this is deducted.
Increase retained earnings.
Decrease retained earning. Okay.
Yeah, decrease retained.
Decrease capital.
Decrease capital. Okay.
Decrease capital.
Decrease capital.
Decrease capital. Yeah.
Okay.
Under drawings head.
So let us have. So because half of the class is saying decrease from capital, half of the class is decrease from retained earnings. So let us have a trial by combat.
Sir, if the business is in profit, I think we'll have to reduce from retained earnings. If it is
okay.
loss,
This is what I say is getting emotional. Nothing in accounting you should decide simply based on whether the business is doing good or bad. It shouldn't matter. Why it shouldn't matter? Because accounting is all about telling what happened. Now, if what happened is determining what you tell, actually you might be fabricating stories around it now, right? So that's why I ridiculed it, because it's very strongly inbuilt in all these so-called budding managers out there, that if business is doing good, I will do it this way. If the business is doing bad, I will do it that way. It doesn't happen like that. You are looking for some jail term immediately the way you are doing it. Okay. Accounting concept should be independent upon whether business is doing good or bad. There is still some point to what Bharat is saying, that I will come to it, but I ridiculed it at the outset because a lot of time it may be your first thing to go to. That shouldn't be the first thing to go to. Is there any argument behind it? That whether I should subtract it from capital or whether I should subtract it from retained earning, this part of whether there is profit or not, I will come to it later. Yeah.
Okay, sir, I have another explanation. If it is owned by a single person, or if it is owned by a group of people or shareholders, then I think we have to reduce each share from the capital.
Okay, okay, perfect. So everybody understood who was speaking that? Bharat was speaking that. Okay, perfect. Everybody heard this? So if one person is running this business, then maybe something will happen, which I am going to tell. But he's saying that if there are more than one person, then you need to write their name and subtract it in front of that name. That's what he's mentioning. Right? Am I right, Bharat? My only problem is that their names will be written in front of capital also, and their names will be written in front of retained earnings also. Now where will you subtract? Suddenly your life got even more complicated. If let's say this is partnership, then capital also would be contributed by, let's say, two partners. And capital will also be contributed by two partners, and profit will also belong to two partners, right? Now where do you subtract?
So doesn't this depend on the type of the transaction? It was like this, like taking 1,000 from the business isn't a transaction with any party. So your capital should essentially decrease, right? It wasn't a business.
Okay. Any other?
Just to add to that, it is not a business expense. You just owe that person less.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, perfect. The moment it is not a business expense, so it is like if you show 1,000 negative here, it's looking like it is a business expense. That is the reason. Jitendra?
Yeah, that's the reason.
Okay. Okay. So that is the argument being given, is that it should be subtracted here. Okay. Any other argument quickly, and then I will try to explain. One more very crucial part is missing.
So the owners have contributed some capital, right? So if they withdraw any money, they are essentially taking away their own money. So business owes them, there's some
So
liability.
his argument is that जब आप पैसे दे रहे थे, then I added it in capital. So when you are taking money away, then I will subtract it from capital. Okay, that is the argument. Okay, now let me discuss. Now, first of all, you need to look at that when I write this negative here and I write this negative here, what does it even mean? Does it even mean two different things? If both of these mean one and the same thing, then it doesn't matter. Right? You understand the point I'm trying to make? If both of these mean one and the same thing, then it should be irrelevant. Now let us see. Let me try to use two jargons. I will start with the concept of company first. Why? Because in case of a company, these things are very clear, black and white. Let's say there is a company. Who are the owners of company?
Shareholders.
Shareholders. Now shareholders are the owners of the company. Do shareholders get cash? Do they have the right to take cash out of the business? Do they get cash out of the business? No. Some people are nodding no. Not as and when they decide, but when their representative called management decides they are eligible to take cash out of the business. Varna business aap chala kyun rahe ho? If you don't want any share, any resource coming from the business, why have you contributed into that business? Is it a charity? Business is not for charity. Business is for making money, right? So the money that you will be taking out of as shareholder, it can be bifurcated into two parts or two reasons. One is called a dividend, as somebody has mentioned in the comments. Dividend is what? Dividend is nothing but shareholder taking money out of the business. It's just that they appoint a manager to give them a nod. Right? Dividend, pata hai, aise chonko mat yaar. Dividend, I'm assuming that dividend is a very common word. That's why I assume that everybody would know the meaning. So in case you guys don't, before that, all these people who have turned off their videos, let me see the facial expressions. Varna mujhe pata hi nahi chalega. Can I assume that people know dividend or not? Yeah. ठीक है यार, कंगी वंगी करके बैठे हो, इतना क्यों शर्मा रहे हो? You can show your faces. It's okay, not a problem. Yeah. Niranjana has gone into hiding today. Okay, who is that? Snigdha is hiding. Okay. All the problems, cameras and all, it's all right, fine. But in general, camera problem एक या दो होते हैं class में. I saw some 5-6 people. Okay. Yeah, endless reasons, no problem. Let me come to the point here. The point I was trying to mention here is that in case of a company, if you look at the terminology, then the terminology itself will tell you that where you should subtract. Let's say you are taking a dividend out of the firm, and now you have two options to subtract. Let's say this, the reason given was that Smith withdrew 1,000 in form of dividend. Now in that situation, can you tell me that which one of the treatment make more sense? Maybe not. Retained earnings. Because
Retained earnings
means that from past profit this withdrawal is happening. The very definition of the word dividend means that the firm has made past profits, and from that profits I am withdrawing. So that this should be belong to this negative 1,000 belong to retained earning. In fact, dividend is one exception in the retained earning column, which does not represent income or expenses. So not all pluses and minuses in retained earning need to be profit or losses. Dividend is one example. Okay. Now, is it the only route in which shareholders can take money out of the firm? Is there any other route?
Sell the shares.
Take or shares, yes. Share buyback, it is called. Have you guys heard share buyback? Now this one is slightly less familiar term. Dividend, I would have gone ahead and assumed that everybody knows. Share buyback is that, let's say I own, let's say, 5 shares of Tata Motors. Okay, let's say these are share certificate. Now it doesn't happen in physical format anymore, but let's say these are the 5 certificates that I had of Tata Motors. That means what? In this ratio, I am owner of the Tata Motors. 5 divided by total number of shares out there in the market. Now what Tata Motor does is, Tata Motors comes up with a scheme that everybody who holds our shares can surrender their share and take 130 rupees for every share. Now this scheme is of share buyback. Means what? That if I decide, I can surrender 2 of my shares and I can take 130 into 2, this much cash away from the organization, from the business. What will happen in effect? Let's say Tata Motor earlier had, let's say, 5,000 shares, and I was the only guy who surrendered the shares. Now after this surrender, they will have 2 shares less. So they will have 4,998 shares left. Okay, there is a small legal or conceptual distinction here. This small conceptual distinction you will get to know when we reach post midterm, when towards the fag end. That I will just remind you what I was trying to mention. Right now I'm mentioning it just to know that the story is not 100% complete. Just for argument's sake, it is complete right now. What I'm saying is that share buyback is another route in which you can take money out of the business. So in this situation, I got 260 rupees from the business. Now, if I ask you a question that I was the owner, I withdrew 260 rupees from the business, where should you subtract it? Should you subtract it from retained earning, from capital?
Capital.
Now it is capital. Why? Because I'm specifically saying that now I am no more contributor to the capital pool. Right? Let's for argument's sake assume that I surrendered all my 5. Now earlier I was a shareholder, I am no longer a shareholder. Fine. So this reduction need to happen from capital. So when you are, so what did I just now explain? I tried to explain that what does it even mean when you are subtracting from capital versus from retained earnings. If you are subtracting this number from retained earning, then the inherent meaning is that it is a dividend. If you are subtracting it from capital, then inherent meaning is it is a share buyback. Fine. Now
So
can
what
it
is the
yeah, go ahead.
corresponding entry for the share buyback, as in 600 capital से subtract होगा, but the
Cash भी तो जाएगा ना? Cash जाएगा. All of these things are happening in cash. So whatever you paid in cash, cash anyway continues to get reduced. So that is why I did this minus 1,000. This was not even the point of contention. The point of contention or this debate was whether what should be the other side of the dual aspect. At least up till this part, the class is unanimous that somewhere in owner's equity it needs to be subtracted. Right? So the two opinion came in was that either I should subtract it from capital or from retained earning. So only one of these will happen, not both. So that is what we are trying to resolve here. So what I am doing right now is I try to give you that what does it even mean to subtract from here. If we are subtracting it from capital, then the intuition would come to our brain is that this is a share buyback. If we are subtracting it from retained earning, then intuition will come to our brain is that it is dividend. That is just explanation of the problem. Now let me answer the question that where should you actually do it? If it was a company, then do you know where do you show the subtraction?
So buyback, so capital.
Capital.
I mean not buyback, capital.
Capital.
Okay, I'm saying that if owner has withdrawn money out of the business and if this business is a company, would you know where to show the subtraction? क्वेश्चन समझ में आया कि नहीं? पहले ये बताओ, आंसर तो छोड़ दो. ओके, स्टिल सम ब्लैंक फेसेस. कुछ लोगों के मतलब बाय डिफॉल्ट एक्सप्रेशन तो नहीं बना रखा है. द क्वेश्चन आई जस्ट रिपीट इट. अभी किसी को पॉइंट करूंगा तो तुरंत से बुरा मान जाएंगे. द क्वेश्चन आई आस्क्ड इज दैट if it is the organization we are talking about is a company and the information given is that owner withdrew money from the company. Now, in case of a company, would you know whether to put it in the capital as negative or whether to put it in the retained earning as negative? That is the question I'm asking. Now answer. Vignesh बोल रहा dividend.
Capital.
Confusion continues. Now, the actual treatment would depend that I would further use another term, that whether the owners have withdrawn the money in form of dividend or whether they have withdrawn the money in form of share buyback. Because in case of a company, they will always have to use these terms that I am declaring dividend. They कभी ऐसा नहीं देखा होगा कि the company is declaring that we are distributing cash to the owners. They don't say it, right? They use the terminology, because the terminology, the treatment there is crystal clear. If the money is distributed because of share buyback, then you know subtract it from capital. If the money is distributed in the form of dividend, then you know subtract it from retained earning. Right? Everybody with me up till here? Life is, at least it is difficult, but at least you are moving towards solution. Fine. Now let's come to more confusing case of that of sole proprietorship or partnership. In case of sole proprietorship, let's say आपका अपना दुकान है. Let's say just for argument's sake, थोड़ी बड़ी दुकान हो गई and you have appointed a separate accountant. Now you withdrew 1,000 rupees out of your own galla or cash register. What would you tell to the accountant? Anyone?
So that will come out to dividends itself, right? Because you are the only owner there. You are the owner.
Okay, so you will say कि ये मैं dividend ले रहा हूँ. Okay, fine. Bhumi is a very generous person. Anybody else? Rishabh, go ahead.
I'll say I'm taking out 100,000 from my investment, whether be it profit or be it capital. It doesn't matter because I'm the sole owner here.
Because you are, most of the people, that's what they will not even bother explaining. Because what? They will say कि यार तुमको accounting करने के लिए रखा है, चुपचाप accounting करो. They will simply straight away take the money and at max out of courtesy they will inform. Maybe later on they will not even inform, and when the accountant is telling all the details, they will end up calling 1,000 rupees is short. What happened? Then you will say, oh, I have taken it. But end of the discussion is that would you bother explaining it to the accountant whether you are redeeming your capital or whether you are taking out of prior profits? You don't do it, right? In real life. Not just you don't do it, even let's say you yourself are accountant, it's very less likely that you will always keep the reasoning. Am I drawing this out of capital or am I drawing? You simply take the money out, right? That is the reason why for a sole proprietorship, whether you subtract it from here or you subtract it from here, or you create a new heading called drawings, and in that you give a negative figure minus 1,000. None of these make a difference.
Sir,
just hold on, Praveen. Just hold on, Praveen. Let everybody digest what I just now said. In case of a company, the nomenclature or the wording itself will make it very clear where you need to subtract. In case of a sole proprietorship, it doesn't make any difference. Why? Because sole proprietorship, there is no distinction between owners and management. And that is why the reason why money is withdrawn is more often not clear. The moment the reason itself is not clear, then this statement also becomes correct, this statement also becomes correct. And if you create a new column where no matter what is the reason, let's say you got too much confused and you wrote down all the withdrawals in a new heading, and now you said that owner's equity is not just capital plus retained earning, rather it is capital plus retained earning minus drawings. Then this is also correct. So all these three versions are correct in case of a sole proprietorship. I'll just complete the argument and then I'll open up for the question. In case of a partnership, here you don't make any distinction. You continue to represent it as you would have done in case of a sole proprietorship. Now separately somewhere in register where you are maintaining the details of all the capital belonging to different partners and all the retained earning belonging to different partners, there you can add it or subtract it wherever you want. That it was this partner who withdrew the money. Okay. Yeah, now questions. Yeah, Bharat, go ahead.
Yes, sir. In case of sole ownership, the only situation where owner would be concerned about capital or retained earnings is in the near future if he has to go for IPO or something, because in that case the target
Those
audience.
are once again strategic decisions.
Okay.
That he might be concerned, but when he's taking money out of the business, then he wouldn't know or she wouldn't know. Once again, being gender neutral, it's not that only male people, so I should better watch out. So in case of the actual withdrawal, the owner might not actually think that whether this money is coming from my capital or whether it is coming from past profit. That is the reason it doesn't matter. Okay. So what you are saying is strategically they may have something in mind, but that is the strategy part. Accounting part wise, it doesn't make any difference. Yeah. Praveen, go ahead.
So conceptually speaking, business and owners are separate, right? Based on entity concept.
Yes.
But here you are differentiating sole proprietorship, partnership, and everything.
No. Okay, good question. Okay. So I'll take this question. Basically, the only thing that is differing is the representation. The treatment remains same in all the cases. It's the only thing that is happening is, so it's not like I am completely ignoring the fact that 1,000 rupees have gone away from the business. I'm still recording it as a part of owner's equity. So that is how my entity concept continues to be applied. That earlier, if they had, let's say, 9,000 rupees or dollars, now after withdrawing 1,000, I owe only 8,000. Only thing is that representation is the question here. That do I represent this 1,000 here or here? So that is what, because in sole proprietorship, most often than not, it's going to be unclear. So we will leave it flexible that wherever you want, you should. But this flexibility you cannot exercise in case of a company, because there they will straight away say it in words. For example, in this question also, if they would have added these words that Smith withdrew 1,000 cash from store for personal use out of profits of the business, if they would have added this, then you wouldn't have any flexibility left even in case of sole proprietorship. Then you would have had to subtract it from here. You understand this? So this flexibility is only because we don't have any reasons to decide this way or that way. So we are leaving it open. That either you subtract it from capital or retained earning, both are okay. If you are really confused, then prepare a new column and subtract it there. And then later on add it, so that you completely avoid this all confusion. Yeah, more questions?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah.
So just for a sole proprietorship, there will be if you subtract from retained earnings or if you subtract from capital, it has a different implication, because suppose you subtract from capital and let's say you invested 10,000 rupees and you generated a profit of 5,000 rupees. So you're like making 50% profit. But if you deduct 1,000 from capital, what it shows at the end of the year is 9,000 rupees invest here, 5,000 rupees profit here. Whereas if I deduct 1,000 from profit, then I'll be showing like a 40% profit. So the amount of profit I'm making would be with respect to how much I'm investing, right? So where I subtract from would affect the profitability of the business, right? Or
no, the profitability. So everybody heard the question what he's asking? Question samajh mein aa gaya? Okay, perfect. So the response to this is that only intuitively it's making a difference. So for example, let's say I have 10,000 right now in hand and I invested in business. Okay. Now, if let's say the business generated, okay, I need to write it down. Let me see that this one doesn't make any difference. Let's say today I had 10,000 rupees in my hand and I invested it in business. The business generated the profit at the rate of, let's say, 10%, and now suddenly I have capital at 10,000 and retained earning as 1,000. Fine. What he's mentioning is that if you understand it as if you subtract next withdrawal of 500 from here, then it would seem as if I am generating similar profit by lesser amount of investment. Versus if you subtract it from here, then it would seem as if I am investing 10,000 and the rest of the profit will be on this, right? So the distinction is that either are you investing 10,000 versus you are investing 9,500. That is the distinction he is trying to say. Whether you subtracted it from capital or not. Okay, question samajh mein aaya? Now the response to this is that whenever you think the investment of this year, you always add capital plus previous year's retained earning. ये वाला भी तो आप ही का investment है. The moment you decide not to withdraw this money, it's like, have you guys studied compound interest? Compound interest is what? That your earned interest also start earning interest. So let's say this was year 1. Let me draw a timeline here. So let's say here you paid 10,000 to the business. Now you have total 11. Of that you take 500 out. So now you have taken 500 out. So I will assume that total you have invested is 10.5. I will not say that this 1 was separate and this 10 was separate, and from this 10 if you have subtracted 0.5, I will completely ignore this. So when you are looking at this year, the investment is not limited only to the capital. It is also extending to the retained earnings that you have left in the business. That is also your investment. That is how this question does not even matter. That intuitively, as far as investment is concerned, it will give confusing meanings if you subtract from here or there. ठीक है, समझ आया? By any chance ये वाला question का response नहीं समझ में आया, then don't worry, you are not missing much in life. Okay, समझ में आ गया तो बहुत ही बढ़िया, अच्छी बात है, kudos to you. Okay, why says that there are a few people who would not have this question. Suddenly there is a question who they did not understand the question, then there is an answer that definitely they would not understand and say it's more difficult for us. So this was a little bit too much beyond the scope of what we are doing right now. If you understood it, good. If not, not a problem. ये वाला question को ignore कर सकते. Fine.
सर एक पिछले का एक डाउट है. जो सोल प्रोप्राइटरशिप के लिए हमने किया था कि आइदर कैपिटल और रिटेन्ड अर्निंग और ड्राइंग्स, सेम विल गो फॉर पार्टनरशिप या फिर पार्टनरशिप के लिए अलग? वो मैं
सेम विल गो फॉर पार्टनरशिप. यस,
सेम विल गो फॉर पार्टनरशिप. मतलब तीनों में
यस, कहीं पे भी डाल दो. Only thing is that somewhere which you don't need to show it here, but somewhere you will make individual records also. That Mr. A this, Miss B this, Miss C this, and from Miss C you will subtract. Let's say she has withdrawn 1,000. So from her claim, excuse me, from her claim of capital plus retained earning, from there you will subtract this $1,000. This is additional information somewhere in record somewhere. It's not an accounting record. Fine. Okay. Let's go to next. I will do. Okay. 3 of these.
So in this case, so one question.
Yeah.
So in this case, it's like a company. So where are we? They haven't exactly mentioned whether it's a.
This is a sole proprietorship. Where does it say it is a company?
Okay.
Just one person, okay. Mr. Smith, is running this firm, right?
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. Next one.
So in case of company, how would it be? If it
in case of company, they would say that dividend distributed or share repurchase happened.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Next one. Smith took merchandise costing $750 from store's inventory for his personal use. Okay. Before I explain this one once again is very self-explanatory. But notice here the word they are mentioning is for his personal use. In point number 8 and 9, both times they have mentioned. This one would have also been the default assumption. For example, let's say if the line was simply mentioned that Smith withdrew $1,000 from the business, then the default assumption would have been that for personal use. Fine, samajh mein aa gaya? Why I'm telling you this is that let's say you practice some question from other books and there just straight away this line is mentioned and then you are confused. पैसे तो निकाल लिए, बिजनेस के लिए निकाला है कि पर्सनल के लिए निकाला है ये बताया नहीं. So default assumption is personal use. Okay, so here what should I do? Inventory has gone out by the value of 750, so I'll reduce inventory by 750. The line says merchandise is gone, so this is the merchandise, inventory is merchandise, so I'll reduce it, and owners have withdrawn it, so I will reduce their claim by 750. Okay, wherever I mentioned 1000, there in there itself I can mention it. Okay, next one, a land that was left with us. Okay, so let's come to the story of land. So we had two pieces of land, A and B. Both were identical in all the respects is what they are trying to say. The piece that we had sold off to other party, they have further sold it for 14,000. What are they trying to say with this information? They are saying that one piece is still with you, right, which is identical to this one. They are trying to say that in market the value of this land has gone up to 14,000. What should you do?
It doesn't affect.
Doesn't affect the company. And one more thing.
Yeah.
No, no.
It's not a transaction.
Okay. That's not a sufficient answer. That's a good answer, but what are we doing? Why are we doing it? Why are we restricting ourselves?
The cost concept.
Yeah.
Because of cost concept. We are assuming that, yes, we are assuming that we are a going concern, and because of cost concept, we are leaving the land as it is with a value of 12,000. Okay. Now, quickly, let me give you an exception. That cost concept doesn't mean that no matter what happens, dunia walat palat ho jaya and you are continuing with your 12,000. It's not a blanket ban. Cost concept means that this is our default assumption. Let's say you ended up buying a piece of land for 2 rupee somewhere in 1950s, and now the same land has gone in value to, let's say, 800,000 crore rupees. 100,000 kya hota hai? I don't know why I say this all the time. 800 crore rupees. Okay. Now in this situation, if you continue to show your balance sheet and you say that I have an asset called land of value of 2, then you are not giving a correct picture of the business, and this distortion is a very sizable distortion. So you may end up making an excuse from cost concept and say that I want to revalue my land. That is allowed. Only thing is that once you want to go against cost concept, there would be certain conditions that you need to fulfill. For example, the conditions can be like, let's say the accounting bodies will come into the picture now, or regulatory bodies will come into the picture. They will say that unless the revaluation is at least of 100% or 200%, don't do it. For example, let's say from 12,000, if the value has gone up to 14,000, don't do it. But if the value has gone from 12,000 to 36,000, now you can do it. Similarly, there will be other similar condition. Let's say they will also impose one more condition, that now there should be no possibility that in next future it further comes back to the 12,000. Any such thing. The point I'm trying to make here is that this possibility they would want to restrict as far as possible. That you can freely keep the value of keep making the value of your assets going up or down. That is what is the cost concept. Cost concept says that by default, once you have purchased an asset, continue maintaining it at the cost at which you have purchased it. Samajh aaya? It doesn't mean there is a blanket ban, but if you want to go other way around, then you may need to fulfill a lot of other extra conditions.
सर इन दैट केस कुछ इंफॉर्मेशन दिया हुआ होगा ना, अगर हमें वैल्यूएशन के हिसाब से बढ़ाना है तो
yes, yes. Don't worry, this is only for your information. अभी आपको करने का कि कब बढ़ाना है कब नहीं बढ़ाना है, don't bother about these things. Okay, there are a few things which you should leave for accountants also, वरना उनको लगेगा कि हम 5 साल वेस्ट ही कर दिया है. Okay, fine, let's go to the next one. So number 10, we will not do anything because we have a cost concept, and also this is not a transaction. So for both of these reasons, we will not touch the value of land. Number next, 6,000 was paid of notes payable. I think this one is very straightforward. I'll simply just do it. 6,000 is paid of notes payable. So the moment you do the payment, cash is gone, and also your obligation comes down. This obligation, fine. This one is very easy, so I'm just skipping it. I'm just noting it. You have repaid your notes, so that's why this reduction, and you have paid it in cash, that's why this reduction. Done. Next one. Smith sold 1/3 of the stock he owned in the Music Mart for 11,000. Okay, what should we do? Anyone? Yeah, Hem, go ahead.
Cash and capital.
Cash and capital. Add or subtract?
Subtract from both.
Subtract. तो 11,000 किसी को दे दिया आपने और कैपिटल भी कम हो गया.
सर दोनों एसेट की साइड हो, कैश एंड दोनों एसेट की साइड प्लस माइनस होगा.
Okay, what you tell me your opinion, Deepika?
Sorry, sir.
You tell me what are you telling me to do?
Sir, I am saying that increase in cash and in the asset side as well as decrease in the stock in the asset side itself. Both
Increase in cash and decrease in stock in the asset side. तो इधर एक asset बना देंगे stock और उसको negative कर देंगे 11,000. ऐसा क्या?
Sir, बोल तो ये sure नहीं.
Sir, but this transaction isn't affecting the company, right? As in company की side से कुछ नहीं हो रहा है.
So Vaishnavi is saying कि company को कुछ लेना ही देना नहीं है इससे.
I think we just have to divide 2/3 and 1/3 shares in different names.
So 1/3 हो जाए, and the profit that has been earned, I think that will be added in the return earnings section, and also the cash section.
No, sir. Profit earned is
capital and cash.
Owner, sir, and I think owner and company are different entities. We should.
Okay. So fortunately for us, this non-app has a raise hand option, so you can raise hand because people are speaking over each other. So let me show the options that we have got so far. So one person is saying, so suddenly this has become the most contested transaction of the entire example. Somebody is saying add cash. Somebody is saying subtract cash. Somebody is saying create a new asset called stock and subtract from that. Somebody is saying subtract from capital. All sort of things are happening. Subtract capital. What else? Some 1/3, 2/3 thing. Batao.
So capital and cash increase by
capital and cash increase by
the amount purchased. Because the person is diluting his shares, so they're basically selling more.
Capital and cash increase. So cash increase. Okay. All the possibilities under the sun are happening here. Okay, Shaurya, go ahead.
Sir, nothing will change. Only ownership of share capital will change, which is not.
Nothing will happen. Okay. Why? Because
only the ownership of the share capital will change.
Only the ownership of share capital has changed. So business has done nothing. Okay. Somebody else was also mentioning the same. I think Vaishnavi was mentioning. Yeah, Achrut, go ahead. Any new point?
No, sir. The same. Capital on the name of first owner will decrease, and on the name of second owner will increase.
Okay. Basically, if you see capital, there is no name below it. You some time ago you saw the capital of Tata Motors. Share capital, did you see? Was hundreds and thousands of shareholders' name written there? Only the total number was written there, right? ये देखा था ऐसा कि मैं कहानियां बना रहा हूँ. Some blank spaces here. दीपिका बताओ यार. दीपिका, tell me.
Yes, sir.
You are understanding what are we even talking about?
Yes.
You are bothered कि आज खाने को क्या मिलेगा? No. As if I'm giving you an option. What I'm trying to tell here is that share capital is just one number in the balance sheet. The detail may be recorded somewhere in some other notebook or some other register somewhere. So the point here is that capital will be with some other name, or this name or that name doesn't even arise, because on this face of it, we are not even mentioning which name. If let's say there are 5 people who have collectively contributed 25,000, I would have just written 25,000 here. Okay, so that point is out. Now all these pluses and minuses here. Basically, this point is straight away checking, did you understand entity concept or not? Now, let me draw the parties here. There is this guy called business. There is this guy called existing owner, and then there is this guy called new owner. What has happened? Somebody has sold a stake and somebody is getting cash. Who will get the cash here? 11,000 मिल किसको रहा है? Existing owner को मिल रहा है? Yeah, right. Existing
Yes, sir.
owner is getting. Who's paying this? New owner is paying this. Okay, let me take some names here. Let's say Bhumi was existing shareholder, and let's say Deepika was new shareholder. Now Bhumi is getting 9,000 from Deepika, or 11,000. Sorry. Who is getting shares and who is losing shares? Bhumi will lose her existing shares and Deepika will get it. So in this direction, shares are flowing. One guy is just sitting there idle, just watching their faces. You see, neither shares came to him or her, of course. Let's keep the business as feminine gender. So neither cash came to her nor stocks came to her. Neither cash went out of her, not stock went out of her. Why? Because this is a different entity. That is the reason why we will not do any entry for this transaction in the statement. ठीक है, समझ में आया? Because this is a private deal between two parties called existing owner and new owner. Because of my entity concept, these are third parties. So third parties क्या कर रहे हैं? The business is least bothered. It's like, let's say I today buy one stock of, let's say, Reliance, and I sell it off for 500. Let's say today I bought it for 1,000 and I sell it for 500. Do you think Reliance lost it? It's my loss. Vice versa, let's say I buy it for 1,000 and I sell it for 2,000. Do you think Reliance got this additional 1,000 profit? No, they didn't get anything. I got the 1,000 ka profit. Right? So this is a test of entity concept. Because this deal is between two independent parties which are not the business, we will not record anything in the financial statement. समझ में आया? Okay.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what if the shares have not been taken by anyone? I mean, if it's still floating and has not been taken by anyone, then what will happen?
Okay. So when you basically, this question is coming from your understanding of stock markets.
No, sir, I'm just thinking, I don't have experience in stock markets.
Oh, no problem. It's coming because of that. It's just not possible that I sold something but nobody bought it. It doesn't happen because a sale transaction needs to happen between two parties. So share is still floating doesn't mean anything. Somebody needs to buy it, only then the transaction take place, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? Fine, last one very quickly. Let's see. Oh no, all done. Last one is more of a check of whether you are left with some more ink in your pen or not. So this transaction we have done so many times already. So repeat of the same transaction. You subtract. Okay, let me quickly do it. कुछ लोग बोलेंगे solution पूरा नहीं मिला, just for those people. So what has happened? 850 worth of inventory has been sold for 1310. What do we do? Show an expense of 850 has happened. 850 gone. Then what did you generate? Because it is an expense, that is why this negative. What did it generate? It generated a revenue of 1310. How has it been received? It has been received in cash. So my cash will go up by 1310. And because it has become an income, it will increase owner's claim by 1310. Okay. That's it that I wanted to tell you today. Okay, any more questions? Oh, perfect. So it's okay. I think as long as you guys are not in some urgency, very fortunately your section doesn't have a class or any class today. Afternoon में तो कोई class नहीं होती ना after my class.
Sir, actually there's a session at 2 that we have.
No, sir.
Which session?
It is for placement का portal registration.
अरे वो सब तो चलता रहे.
Sir,
Placement
if
is
we
like.
don't register in that, we will not be allowed to participate in summer, sir. So please, it's urgent.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Chalo, I'll see you all in the next class, maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow is the next class, so we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So,
can I just ask one question here?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you in the materiality concept, suppose the assumption was that if the insurance is only for 10 rupees, so how
Yeah.
will the actual transaction look like in the balance sheet? Like, will you remove from cash 10 rupees and from retain earning 10 rupees? Like,
Yes,
how?
yes, that's exactly what we would do.
Okay. Yes, sir. That was my doubt. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Sir, if you have another small minute, I have a very small.
Yeah, I have all the time. Go ahead.
So
When
when Rishabh had asked that lifetime asset depreciation question, in
Yeah,
that I had a question that the only way to depreciate would not be to divide it by a certain number, right? There should also be a provision to like depreciate certain percentage of the value of the asset per year.
Yes.
So let's say if the asset is valued at $100 today,
Okay.
and if it is, since it is indefinite, we just decide that.
Yes, you can do that. I got your point. Yes, you can do that.
So by that way, it will continue indefinitely, and then when the amount becomes too insignificant to be recorded, can we then write
Yes,
it off?
that is a very good way out. Yeah, you can do it. Yeah. But still, it's more like that. I also have an alternative which looks promising. It's not like you have a way which is like conceptually this is the way to do.
Right.
Okay, so that is a perfectly all right way to deal with it.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks.